My name is Warren Furster. I'm the editor of Space News. Welcome to the satellite servicing panel. It's an interesting idea, extending the life of a satellite, and it's been around for about 10 or 15 years, and it hasn't gotten a whole lot of traction until recently. We've got the satellite operators represented, Richard DalBello, Vice President, Legal Government Affairs, Intelsat General, that's the government marketing subsidiary of Intelsat Corporation. What drove Intelsat General to sign this deal with MDA? What did you see as a requirement from an operator's perspective to have life extension on satellites?
We think there are three interlocking markets. We think there is a market for life extension. As I think Brian said, a large number of satellites are deorbited that are perfectly good, perfectly functioning satellites generating tens of millions of dollars a year in revenue, but they're deorbited because they run out of fuel. So we'd like to have the ability to do something about that. We also think there's a market in robotics. We believe that the ability to reach out and do simple things in space is something that is going to happen. We think it'll be a game changer. Steve Jobs, recently departed us, used to say that sometimes the customer doesn't know what the customer wants until you show it to them. We think robotics is going to be one of those technologies that once it's there, people will think of 100 different ways to use it. We also think there's a tremendous market for space awareness. There's a lot of work. We've also invested in a group called the Space Data Association, as have our colleagues at SES and Inmarsat. We believe that there's a tremendous need for greater precision in how satellites are flown, in an understanding of the environment, the debris environment, in increasing safety in our large fleet. So we have been looking at this space for a long time. We've looked at both the concepts that you just heard about. We think they both have value. We decided to work with MDA because we thought the plans were more well articulated and they were further along in their process, but we do see value in both concepts. And I'll just note that since we made the announcement that we were going to get engaged with our own resources, there have been not one, but two U.S. government programs that have announced. Both DARPA and NASA have announced that they both want to do satellite servicing. So we're pleased that we've woken the United States government up, and we look forward to working with them on these technologies. But there's also interest in other countries around the world. I know the Germans are engaged in this too. So this is going to happen. This is not science fiction. This is within our grasp right now. And if it's going to happen, Intelsat wants to be there.
Thanks. Feels qualified to address this one. Is it possible to close the business case for a satellite servicing venture on the commercial market alone?
Can I take that? We're actually not interested in there being a government program because it'll take a decade and it'll cost $1 billion. Okay? We're actually interested in something that happens within the horizon of our current fleet, where we can actually use it in the near term. We know what our satellites earn. We have 55 satellites. We're constantly in the process of revitalizing that fleet. We know what satellites earn at the end of life. The math here is actually pretty simple. How much are you making on the satellite? How much is it going to cost to extend for 2 or 3 or 4 years? We're not talking about doubling the life of the satellite, because we also need to technically refresh the assets. So we are talking about both. So there'll be a period, and when you're managing a fleet that's as large as, it's not just Intelsat, the SES fleet, the Eutelsat fleet, big operators are all facing this problem. It's not a question of, okay, I'm going to throw a satellite away and replace it with a new one. Sometimes older satellites have unique capabilities. They may have, certain movable spots or something on them, and you may not want to incorporate that technology in the new satellite as you go from one to the next. It would be nice to have the option to keep something in service for a couple of years. It'd also be nice to be able to flatten out the CapEx bubble when you get large, when your fleet requires a number of satellites to be replenished at the same time. These are issues that I love the United States government. We do a tremendous amount of business with them, but these are issues that they don't know anything about. And so what we're trying to do is build this based on the fact that we're a very large fleet operator with unique and expanding needs. We're not waiting around for the United States government. It's great that they're interested. I'm sure that they're interested for unique reasons, and that's fantastic. We know other governments are also interested. We know this is going to be up there. We would rather be up there and sell this as a service to the United States government than the U.S. government spend taxpayer dollars on the service. Every satellite at the end of life is very different. Some are clearly not going to be candidates. Some satellites, like some people, age better than others. So we're looking for satellites that are strong and healthy at the end, that are generating a good, solid revenue, where that revenue is predictable, and we would be looking somewhere in the 2 to 4 year time frame